Hello, just checking that we are live. Okay, I think we are live. Hopefully, I will have a couple of people at least joining me, but if not, I'm happy to talk to myself as well, so I'm all good. Yay, we have a couple of people joining, so I'll just give it a few seconds. Hopefully, people will be joining in, but if not, okay, fabulous. Hello. Well, thank you so much because I know some of you guys may actually watch this on the replay. So I'm going to get started. I always well, first of all, I want to say Happy New Year. I mean, we're in 2022 now. I feel like time has gone really quickly. So yeah, I'm just really happy that we have been able to come into the new year. And I know with New Year, a lot of people have new beginnings. And one of the New Year's resolutions, if you've got any, maybe to start focusing on your finances. So I really wanted to use this time. So I wanted to go live and I wanted to do weekly lives just to really help you with setting your financial foundation, just really empowering you to also, be able to focus on your finances if that's something that you want to focus on. So I'm really, really excited. We currently have 5 people on this live. So hello, hope you are all doing well. Feel free to comment and anything like that. Let me know, how did you celebrate your New Year's and everything? But we're going to get started. So what I wanted to do is, as I mentioned, I really wanted to do these kind of weekly lives, and I really wanted to kind of structure it around some of the different themes when it comes to actually, learning about your personal finances, actually managing your money and things like that. So every week there's going to be a different theme. And so this week I really wanted to focus on actually building your financial foundation, what that actually means, what does setting a foundation even mean, and things like that, and what you can start to think about going forward. So for those of you who don't know, hello Repo, I hope I've pronounced your name right. Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Integrated Purgatory. Always hope that I spelled said your name right. Happy New Year to everyone. So I really wanted to focus this live on building a financial foundation. And so for those of you, if you're new to my channel, if you've recently subscribed, hello, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. And if you didn't know, I'm actually a money coach. So I actually went from being in over £16,000 or $22,000 worth of debt to being able to save. It was 70% of my income, and then it was 40% of my income when I got married and I was working in my 9-to-5 job. So I've pretty much gone through like a big sort of money journey. And so now I kind of just want to teach other people to do the same thing, to be able to manage their money and really start working towards things like financial independence and all of that good stuff. Hey, yes, Happy New Year. So I'm so glad that you guys could join me in this live. So what I want to do is really just talk about, again, what do we mean by financial foundation? How does that apply to you? And then also, if you have any questions as well, feel free to ask me. You can ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. I'm really just here to serve you guys, so you can ask me anything. But I want to just kind of give you guys a bit of education so that, when you're thinking about your finances going forward, especially in January, hopefully these lives will help. So make sure you do tune in every week on Sunday. So I'm going to be doing it weekly on Sunday in January. I've never done weekly lives before. This is like the first time. So make sure you do join in because I really want to make all of them impactful and they're all going to be different. So in today's live, what I really want to kind of dive deep on is actually, the reason why I think that setting a financial foundation is probably going to be one of the most important things that you can do when it comes to handling your personal finances. And so I think one of the things that I tend to see is that a lot of us, we tend to really focus on, things like increasing your income, for example. And, you'll hear about, actually creating these multiple income streams. And to be honest, I'm like here for it. And I'm like, yes, we definitely need to think about, building up different streams of income because, you never know what's going to happen to your job, for example, and all of that stuff. But for me, if you don't know how to actually manage the current money you have in the first place, for me, I feel like it's a detriment when you're now starting to think about, oh my gosh, I need to make so and so, like I need to make so much more money because that's going to help me save more. And so I really kind of stress that I feel like you need to be able to build that foundation first so that when you do increase your income, you're pretty much able to have created a system where the money is just going to flow in and you're still going to be able to reach some of your financial goals. And it seems like it's pretty much a system that is basically set on a foundation and it just doesn't shake. And so what I mean by this is that when a lot of people think about increasing their income, what tends to happen is whether it's, getting a promotion at your job, whether it's, doing side hustles or starting a business or anything like that, the problem that I see is that you haven't actually dealt with the current money that you have and the income that you have first before then actually increasing your income. And so what I mean by that is what tends to happen, and I see this a lot, particularly I used to see this in my work all the time, where people would then start to increase their income, but what would happen is that their expenses will increase as well. And that's something that we tend to call, which is called like lifestyle creep. So when you then start to get more money, there's things where you like maybe you get a promotion and you've got like a 15k increase, and then because you have all this money, you then start to think, actually, maybe I need a better car, or maybe I need new clothes, or maybe I can start going on those holidays that I wanted to go on, or maybe I don't know, I just want a bigger house, or I just want to be able to go to these different restaurants because I didn't used to go to them because I didn't have that much money. And so what happens is that your lifestyle just essentially starts to creep, and so you then start to use that money to pay for basically kind of liabilities that aren't necessarily putting things in your pocket. And it's not to say that we shouldn't enjoy the money, but what you're essentially doing is, rather than thinking, oh, that increased income is going to help you, actually save more or invest more, it just goes straight into spending, and it could be on spending things that you don't really care about. And so what I really want to stress with you guys, that yes, increasing your income is definitely something that is key, and I think it's a really important lever. But I think you want to be able to build that foundation first. So really focus on actually managing that money that you currently have, so that when you increase your income, you have no problems. Because what will happen is, if you've actually built the foundation, yes, your spending can increase, but your savings and investments will as well. And so it won't be at a detriment to your own financial goals and what you want to achieve in your financial future. So that's kind of like one of the mistakes that I tend to see. So I've got a question. Are there things that you stopped buying? There is, for me, I think when it comes, and maybe I'll do a separate live on this, I don't know, but when it comes to actually spending money, for me, I really focus on things that I value and things that I don't value. So I will probably stop buying things that I don't necessarily value. So for me, it's not like I'm saying, oh, I completely cut back on everything and I'm like just eating rice for like days on end. No, I'm not like that. I'm here to enjoy life, as well as, live for today, but then also focus on my financial future. That's like my motto. And so for me, I always think, if they're like, for me, clothes, for example, I used to just buy clothes on sale for no reason. It's not like I needed the clothes, but I just bought them because that they were on sale. And so I didn't place any value on those clothes. I have clothes that they still had tags on them for like a couple of years because I just bought them on sale and they had no meaning for me. So that's when I decided I'm actually just going to stop buying those kind of clothes. Like, I'm only going to buy clothes that I actually value and that I need. And so that's kind of like the mindset I tend to have when it comes to spending money. And again, I've been able to do that because I have built a solid foundation. So again, when you're thinking about, okay, your spending, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be thinking about your spending in January as well, what you really need to be thinking about is, what do you actually value more? So if you realize that actually you impulse spend, but you're impulse spending on things that you don't value, well, then you want to start thinking, okay, is there a point? Like, should I really just be buying these things? Am I buying them because I actually need them or I actually want them? Or am I just buying them because of the sake of it? So that's really like what I would stress with you guys. And that's why I think like building a foundation is really is key for me. And that's something that I'm even taking towards like this like this year. On Tuesday, I have a video that I'm going to be talking through like my own financial goals, and like one of them is really just going back to building a foundation. So even though I built a foundation 3 years ago where I had like created a system in terms of like my budget, being able to save money, start working towards financial independence, I really want to make sure that I'm still building a solid foundation, even when it comes to increasing my income, because I'm at that point now where I built a foundation when it comes to managing my money, and now I just need to accelerate it. But what I want to do is then again build a foundation so that when I do accelerate it, it gets to a point where it's kind of easy and I don't necessarily have to do too much work. So that's kind of like one of the things that I tend to see people doing. Oh, there's quite a few comments there, and there's like quite a few people. So I'll try and get to some of the comments as well. But there's some stuff that I really wanted to talk about in terms of teachings first as well. And again, in terms of like actually if you do need further support or if you want to take it even further, then I do have one-to-one coaching as well. So link is in the description below if you want to work with me as well. So there's all of that if you want more support. But then the other thing that I wanted to really talk about is even when it comes to like there's the increasing income part, and then there's also the investing part. And there is also like an element of building a foundation when it comes to investing. But what I see is that I actually see people diving into investing a bit too early. And so what I mean by that is I'm not even just talking about people having savings before you even start investing. What I'm really talking about is, do you actually understand what you are investing for? And do you actually understand how money works in the first place in the form of investing? Because I think that's something that I tend to see, and I will do like a dedicated live. I think I'm planning to do it like the last week of January on investing, because I think it's a really important topic. And I know some of you guys will want to start investing. Maybe some of you haven't started investing and something's stopping you. But when I'm talking about, again, building a foundation, it's really, again, understanding how money works in the first place and actually understanding what do we mean by investing. Because some of the mistakes that I'm seeing is that people are just kind of investing in, whether it's cryptocurrency, the stock market, whatever it is, people are just kind of diving into it without actually understanding what they're investing in or understanding what they're actually investing for. Like if I asked you, why are you investing? What are you using your investments for? Some of you might not be able to answer it, and it's because you maybe haven't built that foundation to understand like what you're actually investing for and why that investing is going to be a vehicle for you to build wealth essentially. And so those are kind of like the two things that I tend to see, and I kind of just wanted to highlight that. And so I do want to talk about what do I actually mean by building a foundation, because I keep saying like financial foundation. You guys might be thinking like, what on earth is she talking about? But I just wanted to go through some of the comments. So someone, Sidu, asked, do you need qualifications for a money coach? No. So money coaching is very different to financial advising. I don't give financial advice, or I don't tell people what to do with their money. All I do is really just guide them and just educate them essentially, and just really help asking them like powerful questions. Like the women that I work with, they really kind of they actually do the work themselves. Like I don't need to tell them what to do, but I give them the tools and knowledge and the questions behind it so that they can figure it out themselves. So that's really the difference, I would say, between coaching and financial advising. So like if you want to be a financial advisor, you definitely need qualifications for that. But for a money coach, you don't necessarily need it. Happy New Year. Hello, Happy New Year. Yeah, a lot of people forget about that. Hi, Eva. Yes, hope you're enjoying your dinner. Rice and peas. To hear your views on setting up a good foundation. I finished paying off debt and saving up for an emergency fund now. And this month, how do you manage readjusting the frugal mindset after debt? Yeah, that is such a great question. And I think this is kind of something that I wanted. You know what, you've already just answered like my next point. So here's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about, setting a financial foundation. Yes, obviously there's things like being able to save up money, or like saving up for your emergency fund, or learning about budgeting. Yes, that is important. But the one thing that I've realized is when I'm talking about setting a foundation, I'm talking about, do you actually understand money? Do you understand how money works? Do you understand the psychology around money, how people think about money? Do you understand how people actually create wealth? So these are very different questions than to, how do I like set up a budget, or like how do I save money? Because like a lot of you guys will know how to save money. Like I have loads of videos on how I've been able to save money and how you can too, and how you can make a budget. But what I've realized is that for me, even when at the point where I was paying off my debt, I really focused on actually understanding how money works, because that is what helped me to understand that paying off my debt was only a small part of like the timeline that I have when it came to like actually dealing with my own personal finances. So I'm still like on this money journey as well. And so for me, what I would even say to that question is, and this is kind of like, this is what I really try to deep dive like with my clients as well. Like when it comes to actually budgeting and saving and controlling your finances, it's something that I definitely think is important, but it's not the first thing that I talk about. Like I don't even talk to them about like saving or making a budget. I don't even talk to them like in the first 4 weeks, because when I'm talking about setting the foundation, I mean actually understanding your why and understanding how money works. And what I mean by that is, do you actually currently know where you are at and where you want to go financially? And so before you even think about actually, okay, you're going to make a budget, you're going to actually save money, being really clear on where your starting point is and where you're planning to go as well is going to help you understand what part of the money journey you're currently at, and how you can then use the vehicle of budgeting and saving to help you reach some of those goals. I really hope I'm making sense. Like if I'm not, let me know. But I'm really trying to get you guys to start thinking differently about money and about your own personal finances, because I think I could have come on this live and said like, oh yeah, let's talk about like my budget spreadsheet, or like making a spreadsheet, but like you can literally Google that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you guys to think a bit differently, and this is what I'm going to be doing each week as well, is even when I deep dive on things like budgeting and saving money, because I still plan on doing that, because again, they're very important, but I want you guys to start thinking differently about it. And so for me, even with like building a foundation, it's not even just thinking about, okay, like I just need to budget my money. No. What I'm really thinking about is, what is that like when you're actually thinking about your money and your financial goals, for example, start thinking about things like the lifestyle you desire. So like even with my clients, like I don't even start questioning about like, oh, how much do you want to save? The questions I will ask them is like, what do you actually want to achieve financially, and what is that going to mean for you? So what is your lifestyle going to look like? And then again, what does that actually mean in numbers, for example? And so this is why I come back to actually building a foundation, because when you're able to actually understand how money works, you understand how you think about money as well, because I think that's something that we don't tend to talk about a lot. And actually how you understand money and your behaviors behind money is probably going to be one of the biggest factors that basically impact whether you're able to manage your money or not. Because a lot of you will, maybe you've read some books, maybe you've watched YouTube channels, or done anything, or like, I don't know, like maybe you've spoken to people about your finances. But until you actually start to think about your own behaviors and you're aware of your behaviors, and you also start to build those habits as well, that is going to be the biggest change when it comes to actually managing your money. So that's why whenever I say like building a foundation, I'm talking about, do you understand your behaviors around your own personal finances? Do you understand how money works? Do you understand where you're currently at? Again, in numbers, for example, like if I ask you if you've done a net worth statement before, do you understand where you're currently at and where you're planning to go? And so even when you're thinking about your debt, again, that's going to be only one part of the story. For me, like once I paid off my debt, I was like, okay, that chapter is done. My next chapter is saving up for an emergency fund. My next chapter was again, saving up for a wedding. Then it was investing so that I can reach financial independence. So can you see how like there's like small chapters? It's not just one end goal and then that's it. I really hope that makes sense. There's quite a few comments, so I'm just really happy that you guys have actually joined me. Yeah, investing. Yeah, so I'm going to hopefully do a live last week of January for investing. That's my plan. I'm 21 years old and I plan to do long-term investing for retirement. I've been doing research for some time now, but still, educating myself. Yeah. So that's really good. Like, I think like if you've actually really started on that, I think it's great. And again, like that's what I mean by building that foundation, actually understanding, having that knowledge so that you can then implement it. Um, yes, it's all that matters to me. Yeah, yeah. Have to live like a hobo, right? Yeah. The sacrifice will be worth it. 100%. 100%. So, would you advise uni students to do in terms of managing their current loans by potentially turning them into savings, as well as getting up on the ladder on financial freedom? So, really good question. Really good question. I mean, like I do get some students coming to me asking questions like, "Oh, what did you do at uni?" And I'm not the like some of you guys might not know. Like I was in debt. Basically, I had an overdraft in uni that was maxed out. So I always kind of have to feel like, okay, what would I do now if I was a uni student? Because I can't tell you what I was like during uni because I was not great with my money. But in terms of like managing your current loans, I would say like it really just depends on that. It's quite difficult for me to, I guess, talk about that because first of all, I can't give financial advice, but also it really depends on your loans as well. So, for example, if you're from the US, your student loans are going to be very different to the UK, and so all I would say is really with the money that you have in terms of like actually being a uni student. First of all, I would say try not to put so much pressure on yourself because the fact that you're a uni student and you are learning about this now, you have got such a huge, huge advantage. I'm not even gonna like the fact that you're even asking this question as a uni student is amazing. And so what I would say is actually just take the time, like start learning some of the habits again, going back to your why. Like you've obviously thought about, okay, financial freedom, what does that mean for me? How can I actually now start to manage my money well? So even if you're thinking about actually with the current money that you have that you get during the term, for example, could you start building some habits where you're thinking, okay, a portion is going to go into my savings, for example, and what is that savings going to be for? So again, start thinking about like start understanding your why and really just getting clear on that and start building those habits. And then at that time, you can also, potentially start thinking about, okay, if I'm going to be having money and I've like, for example, got an emergency fund and I've achieved all these steps, can I start thinking about investing and take that time to learn about investing? So for me, I would say like you don't need to rush into like trying to put all your money into like savings and investments and all of that stuff because again that's what I feel like I tend to see that kind of mistake as well where people think like, oh my gosh, like everyone's telling me to invest, so I really need to invest my money because like time and compound interest and all of that. And it's definitely true, like obviously the best time to invest your money was yesterday, but the second best time is today. But you can also use that time to really make sure that you built a solid foundation for yourself so that you can avoid mistakes that people make. Because what I've seen is that even in the pandemic, you had people that had invested all of their money and didn't understand what they were investing in, and they basically invested all of their money. And then when their investments dropped by like 30%, and for example, they lost their job, they ended up having to sell at a loss because they hadn't built the foundation where they had different savings to fall on to basically to fall on. And so that's why I always say like build the foundation first, even when it comes to investing, build that foundation first so that as soon as something happens, and let's say that your investments do drop by like 30 or 20% or whatever, because that has happened before and it probably will happen in the future. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised. But once you've built that foundation, then you know that there are different areas that your money is going to be going to, so that even if your investments were to drop, it doesn't matter because you have savings, for example. So again, that's why I always like try to come back into this like financial foundation. Oh my gosh, so many comments. I didn't realize like there'd be so many people joining. So thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. So would you do a video on how to tackle your finances during uni if you have a second? Yeah, it's something that I've thought about. I think it's just it is something that I'm thinking about. It's just yeah, I just because I forget what it was like at university, and obviously everyone's in like different situations as well. It's kind of hard because I didn't actually manage my money at university, and I always try to kind of base my videos on things that I have actually done. So it is something that I will think about. Maybe I'll do like a live on it instead. Like if you guys are like, if some of you are from university, I could maybe do a live and help you out instead that way, so that if you have specific questions, then I can answer it then. Because I feel like, yeah, I would want to be in that situation in order for me to help you with that. Cool, just started today, budget and savings plan, but it's going to be so hard. I don't have much to live on. So yeah, I think, yeah, with that, again, when it comes to like, and I will, when I do my other lives as well, I'm going to focus on budgeting and saving, because I do think it's really important. But this is why it's quite important for you to know your numbers and know realistically what you can and can't do. And so this is where I come, this is why I always say, like, know your numbers, because that's going to help you understand, okay, realistically, there are some things that I could probably maybe cut down, or there are some things that I could maybe save on and things like that. But depending on your living situation, that's where you may also need to think about being like a bit more creative. So for example, in my case, when I first had my job, I was living in a house of multiple occupations. So I was paying like 500 a month for it. And so that included like me living there, but it also included all bills. And so it meant that I had a bit more money to then be able to spend on other things and obviously pay off my debt, because I was in debt at that time. But like, it meant that I did certain things to try and like change my expenses, because things like housing and transport is probably going to be one of the most expensive. But then also at that same time, that's when, you know, if you realize, okay, like now you're actually being able to budget and you're trying to save as much as possible, but you realize that actually this is where the increased income comes in. That is when you want to start thinking about, okay, how can I increase my income? So what I always try to say is, like, it's not about don't increase your income and just cut down. No, it's not about that, but it's build the habits on the current income that you have first. Then once you have done that, that's when you can start to think, okay, now that I know what I need to do, I can then start to increase my income so that I can save more, for example, or I can, you know, pay off my debt. That's something that you need to do. I need your help on how to save money. So I do have like a lot of saving videos on my channel. I will do a live. I don't think it's going to be next week. I think it's either going to be in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I will do a live dedicated to saving money. So make sure you watch that. And I also offer one-to-one coaching as well. So if you do need further help individually, you can also do that. Yeah, Bora Bora is calling. Yeah, I'm so like, if you guys follow me on Instagram, then you would know that our honeymoon got cancelled. So I now need to look for another honeymoon. That's just a side note. But yeah, that, I don't know why I mentioned that, but you know, that's, well, I think that's why I mentioned, like, once you set your financial foundation, like there's going to be areas where you can really just enjoy your money. And some, I'm trying to enjoy my money by going on my honeymoon, and that's been cancelled. So I'm not happy about that. So that was like the first thing that I wanted to mention. I see there's quite a few comments, but the other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of like why setting a financial foundation can be so game changing for you. And so I kind of wanted to talk about my story a little bit. So like, I think most of you will know, if you don't know already, that I was able to quit my job last year, which is now last year because it's now 2022. So I was able to quit my job last year. And I basically, like, I have videos just talking about, you know, why I quit my job. But I was able to even just take some time off because I set a financial foundation for myself. And so this is what I mean. Like, when it comes to setting a foundation, it's not just for you to like have a budget. Like, I always try to stress with you guys, it's not just about having a budget and like saving some pounds or dollars here and there. Like, this is for, like, if you want to make a change when it comes to your own life, and you know that actually the finances is probably going to be a big part of it, this is what setting a foundation can do for you. So because I set a foundation where we had savings, so like, if you don't know, like, I'm married, but I had savings before I got married, and my husband was also saving whilst we were engaged as well. So we were both saving at the same time. and we were also investing as well. So we had all these savings and these investments, and it was getting to a point that obviously I just kind of wanted to take some time off. And so I had the ability to quit my job because of the fact that we had built such a great foundation. And even though, like, yes, my husband, works his job, and even at my work, they could not understand how I was able to quit my job. Like they literally, it was like unfathomable in their eyes. Like they couldn't understand. They genuinely thought I had to have a rich husband in order for me to quit my job. And the reason being is because most of them live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't understand, that you can manage your money well so that you can build a good foundation so that you can afford to be able to take some time off if you want to. And so this is why I mean, like, actually building a foundation, it's not even, I think, like, the mistake that maybe we tend to think about is that, oh yeah, when we're talking about managing our money and like saving up for our future, yes, there is the element of like thinking about retirement and if you want to become financially independent, especially if you want to retire early. And yes, these are very long-term things, but actually setting your financial foundation can also make such a difference to you within a couple of years. So I was in this time 3 years ago, I was like in debt, and I was paying, in fact, I wasn't even doing very well paying off my debt, to be honest, but I was in debt. I had payments. I was pretty much living paycheck to paycheck. But because I then decided, actually, I'm going to set myself a foundation. And so what that meant was obviously paying off my debt, actually having savings, having an emergency fund, having investments. Because I was able to take that time over the next 2 to 3 years, that has allowed me to make a decision where I was like, actually, I need to have a break and I need to focus on myself. I've been able to do that because, again, I set that foundation. And so that's why I really kind of want you guys to really think about it, like in terms of, when you're budgeting or saving your money, or if you know that you need to pay off your debt, don't just think about, this is just the here and now. This is just because I know that I need to do it. But just start to think about what that financial security can do for you in the future. And I'm not even just talking about 20 to 30 years in the future when you're thinking about retirement. I'm thinking about within the next couple of years, what that can do to you. Because if you'd have told me 3 years ago that I'd have enough money to be able to quit my job and not have to make a penny, so I don't need to make money for a whole year. I wouldn't need to make any money for a whole year, and I'd still be able to pay for my lifestyle, because I set that foundation. The same, like, I know, like, people are like, oh, but your husband still works. He if he wanted to take a sabbatical, he could, because we have enough money to basically live off for at least a year. So that's why, like, and I don't say it like to brag and be like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, we have, like, you guys, like, a lot of you guys will know our budget. Like, we don't make big bucks, okay? Like, so many people from our work probably earn double or triple the amount that we earned with our salaries combined. I'm not even just saying my salary, like with our salaries combined, like we don't earn big bucks. Like, I never used to earn big bucks. My husband didn't, but we've been able to set such a strong foundation for ourselves that we've been able to make it possible. And it's not taken 10 to 20 years. So that's why I really want to stress with you guys. And again, if you've got questions around that, I see a lot of comments. I'm going to try and get through to a lot of them. But again, feel free to ask your questions as well. Let me go through. So I have a question. Sometimes you may be like, oh, I'm only going to invest once I'm ready, but what if you never feel ready? What can one do? It's a really good question. I think how I would say this is, when you say, when you're ready, what are you ready for? So this goes back to, what is the investing for? Why would you be investing? And this is why I'm always like to my clients, before you even, like, I don't talk about, what investment should you invest in? Like, what platform should you invest in? You need to first know, what is that investing going to do for me? Have I thought about what I actually want to achieve financially, and what's that investing going to do for me? And once you then have that, that is going to help you understand whether, you will probably want to be investing, and how much you want to be investing as well. So for me, I would say it's not really about, never feeling ready. A lot of people don't feel ready to invest because it's purely because they don't actually understand it. Like, a lot of people are scared to invest because they don't understand it. It's a lack of understanding. Because once you understand why people invest, why it's going to benefit you, that will then help you understand, okay, what kind of things can you invest in. It's kind of like a hierarchy. Like, I always think, first of all, think about what you're investing for, why you're investing. And this is why, like, I always have to have these like deep conversations with the women I work with, because I need them to understand, what are you actually investing for, and how is that investing going to be used as a vehicle to help you achieve your financial goals. And so once you have that, it's a lot easier for you to then think, based on my goals. Then you want to also think about, like, my attitude to risk as well. And that's something, again, I'll talk about like in the investing week. But once you've got like that foundation, again, that's when it's a bit easier for you to say, okay, based on my goals and what I'm looking for, this is the type of thing that's going to be best for me to invest in. These are the type of investments I'm going to need to do. This is how much I'm going to need to be investing every month or every year. So can you see how it all kind of, I don't know what's the word. It's kind of like a house. Like, the roof bit is you understanding, or maybe it's the bottom bit. Maybe it's the bottom bit is you understand, whichever bit is you understanding what you're actually investing for. And then, the rest of the house is kind of like the strategy. And then you can start to think about, okay, what kind of things you need to invest in and things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, like most people will be scared to invest. But the biggest reason for that is because they don't understand it. And so you need to really think about why you're investing. And again, once you start to understand your mindset around it as well, and the way you feel about different investments as well, that will help you then think about, okay, what kind of things that can I invest in? That's going to be, based on my own risk, based on, how I feel about investing, how I would feel if my investments dropped in value and things like that. That will help you understand, how to invest. Like, that will help you understand I don't know what I'm saying, but it will help you to understand and think about what you want to invest in the future. So hopefully that makes sense. I think this question maybe was around investing, I would say. But I don't know if it's about personal finances or investing in terms of actually starting early. Don't want to spend too much money. So if you're new to my channel, I have, like, if it's about spending money or like saving, I have so many videos on this. Like, I realized I have like more than 100 videos. So if it's like, yeah, for saving money or like spending money, I definitely have a lot of videos for that. How much were you living off a week when you were saving and paying off debt? That's a really good question, because it was a couple of years ago. I want to say my rent was 500. I actually moved out of the house multiple occupation. So I was living with other professionals first, and then I decided to move out and live with a family, and I was only paying 300. Yeah, 300 for all inclusive bills. I was paying 300 a month. It was just because, I don't know. I think I got to the point where I'm really competitive, especially with myself. So I was like, oh yeah, like, wouldn't it be cool if I like paid off my debt like a couple of months earlier? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move house. I'm going to become a lodger. And I just decided to do it. So I was paying like 300. I think the rest of my bills maybe came to like an extra 400 in terms of like spending. So I was still like, I didn't completely cut down everything. What I essentially did is I just basically, again, went back to what do I value and what do I not value. For me, the housing situation, I wasn't too bothered about it, because I spent most of my time in London and I was working outside of London. So I was living where I was working. So because I spent like most of my time in London, like I literally would just travel up there for work. So I didn't really care where I lived. So like for me, I didn't value it that much. So because of that, I was able to cut my costs drastically. And so I think most of the time I would at least put away I started with maybe, I don't know, maybe around 500. It got to a point where I was putting around £1,000, I would say, a month towards like saving and paying off my debt. And then when I actually moved back home, I was saving about 1,300 from memory. I do have like budget videos, like talking through my journey on that, but I think that's how much I was saving. Yeah, I'm hoping like I find the honeymoon. Like, it's so annoying because the flights got cancelled and now they do the same. Like, I still really want to go to the place. It was Dominican Republic. It was all inclusive. Like I was really excited. So now I'm like, I still want to go there. So I'm trying to find out ways how I can do that. Yeah, be both on the same page. Yeah. It can be yeah, being the weird one. I think because especially, we don't tend to talk a lot about money to our friends and to our family. Like particularly if you are from the UK, like we do not like to talk about money. We do not like to talk about spending money, how much we make. Like we don't like to talk about, salaries as well, even things like that. So it can be quite difficult to be able to actually have that conversation with people. So that's kind of like almost like why it's kind of like why I do like doing these lives as well, because like we all get to talk about it, because sometimes we don't get to do it. So it's nice to just have that community. So it can definitely be tough. And even when I was on the journey, I like even had to deep dive on a lot of US content, because at that time there wasn't a lot of UK based influencers as well talking about it. Now there's like a loads, which is absolutely amazing. It means that like people can watch different people and you can decide who your favorite creator is, and then you can really learn from them. But it can be hard when you're trying to talk about it to like other people. Like even I didn't even used to talk about it to my work. Like when people ask me like how I'm quitting my job, literally the question would be, what does your husband do? Because they thought I had a rich husband, and that's how I was able to quit my job. That is genuinely what they literally had to ask. And like I had so many people asking me, what did your husband do? And so when I would tell them, they like they couldn't believe it, because he has a normal job. Like he has a normal job, and they couldn't believe it. So, it's like even us having this conversation, it's not the norm. It's not the norm. But I think I'm trying to empower you guys as well to know that even though, many people may not be having this conversation, and many people may be living paycheck to paycheck, and that may be seen as normal, or, using debt to finance their lifestyle, and that's kind of seen as normal. If you want a change with your financial situation, and if you want to be different, then you have the tools to do that, and you can really do that. So yeah, that's something that I did want to mention. I know what colleagues don't get it when you say goodbye to your job and think you won the lottery, or the husband or boyfriend is late. Honestly, like it was just so funny, and I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, no, we just have savings. I went, yeah, and they were like, but then, and they were like, like, but how do you pay for all of your expenses and things like that? And I'm just thinking, I don't live paycheck to paycheck. That's how I can pay for my expenses. So it's something that, again, like we need to, because we're not taught about this in schools, and you're not even taught about this in work. It can seem so new to a lot of people. But I'm telling you, like, if you are able to set that foundation, and not just for yourself, but if you're planning to have kids, or if you're thinking about future generations, like, you'll be surprised at what the change that you can achieve and make for your own family and yourself. So I would definitely encourage you to think about it. Yeah, and it's not, again, it's not just about being 20 years down the line. And yeah, I'm glad it's inspiring. And I wanted to also just make a note that, obviously, like, guys, that I'm coming from a place where I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was looking through some of my bank statements, I think the other day, from like years ago, or like my budget, and just realizing, like, I was the element where I had no savings whatsoever, and I just had income coming in, and I thought, because I had income coming in, that I'll pay off my overdraft soon, it won't take me long. But because I hadn't built up the behaviors, again, because I didn't really understand the concept of money, I never really did it. And so I was still spending my money on different things and not realizing where my money was going. So I've been at that point, okay? I've been at the point where I've had debt. And, even with people, like, and this is another thing, because, even though you may not have debt as well, that doesn't necessarily mean you know how to manage your money. It just means that you just haven't been in debt. So, for example, in my case, I've never been in credit card debt, but that doesn't mean that I didn't know how to handle money, because I definitely didn't know how to handle money before. So regardless of whether, you have debt or not, like, actually really asking yourself, do you actually understand how you can manage your own money, is going to be really important. So I just kind of want you guys to think about that. Oh, glad to see that it's inspiring. Beginners resources for uni. Yeah, I mean, I would also try and look on YouTube as well. Like I'm sure there will be uni students as well, like that are also managing their money and doing so much better than I was at uni. I honestly wish I was able to manage my money at uni, but the past is the past. We just look we look forward to the future. But I would say as well, actually, that some of the habits that I even teach in my content, I would still say they could probably be applied to university students as well. So the only thing may be that, you don't get paid monthly, obviously. So it may be that obviously you get paid, throughout the term. So all you need to just think about is how would that apply to me? So if I don't mind, like if you guys want me to do a live on that, then yeah, just let me know. Yeah, I'll definitely doing. Yes, so there's a cash stuffing channel, but there's not many UK people who do it. Well, if there's any UK people that are uni students, I've literally just given you the platform. Like people are looking for this content. So yeah, or even looking for financial advice. Yeah, I do not speak about it with my friends and only my partner. Yeah, it can be hard. Like even when I was paying off my debt, really the only person that knew was my boyfriend. He's my husband now, but it was my partner at the time. He was the only one, and the only reason why he kind of knew is because I was obviously thinking about, okay, like there's probably things that I may want to change slightly. So I just needed him to also keep me accountable as well. So he was really the only one that I told about my debt. Like it's so funny because like even my friends only found out that I was in debt when I actually put that video on YouTube. It's like they came to me and they were like, Bronya, we had no idea you were in debt. So like because it's just not something that we tend to talk about. So I definitely know what you mean. I think people can't see it because they live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, a lot of people do. And again, I'm not even like, it's really important for me to kind of say that even if you live paycheck to paycheck now, the fact that you are aware of it and the fact that you want to make a change is huge. So just even making those first steps really is going to help you and really help you to just actually start making a difference. So I'm not saying that, oh my gosh, you're living paycheck to paycheck, there's no hope. No, because I was living paycheck to paycheck 3 years ago, and in my case, you can see that things have changed. But just being aware of it and actually understanding, today I want to make a difference. I want to start focusing on my finances. And I'm not just talking about January, guys. I know January is something where we always want to focus on our finances and start losing weight and, getting more healthy. I know that. But it's really a journey, and it's not just going to change just in January. Like I decided to do these lives in January because I know more people will probably be more engaged. But I want you guys to think, yes, like I can start in January, but this isn't going to be like, it's not just going to be a January thing and then it all drops in February and then I just, live paycheck to paycheck again. What I want you to be is like, okay, this is my awareness stage. How can I actually now start to make a difference going forward? And how can I just stop like coasting with my finances? Because like you may be in that position. You may feel like actually I've been coasting for the couple of years where I've said, I'm going to save money. Or I know I'm supposed to be saving for a house and things haven't really changed. Or I know I'm supposed to pay off my debt, but I've not really paid much off. So I really wanted to kind of get you guys to start thinking a bit differently so that you can really start making a difference this year. So how do you feel with people who make you feel weird for being so financially stable? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really talk. It's weird. It's interesting because I don't necessarily talk to like a lot of, I mean, like people that see my YouTube channel, like that's like they will see my finances. Like most people that see my YouTube channel, they are people that want to do better with their finances. And so they're going to they're going to be able to say, okay, this person is financially stable. How do I get to that point? How do I become financially stable? How can I maybe implement what she's done? And so I have those people usually, apart from a couple of haters. You get a couple of haters, but it's okay. But I genuinely will get most of those people. And so I don't really tend to like, even with like my family or friends, like I won't go to them and be like, oh, you need to manage your money. Like I will like tell them, like obviously I have a YouTube channel and this is what I do. But to be honest, it's all up to you. Like, even in this live, some of you are going to take this information and you're going to run with it and say, do you know what? I need to focus on my finances. Or maybe you might even get support, for example. But then there may be some of you that decide, actually, you want to coast for another year. So it really depends on like your like individual's mindset. I can't force you guys to start focusing on your finances, and like you can't do that to other people either. So for me, it's kind of like, if you want the help, then I am here. I have YouTube content, I have Instagram, again, I have coaching, I have content to help you. But you just, like, other people just need to decide, you know, whether they actually want to make a difference or not. So I can't force people. So yeah, if I'm weird, then I'm weird. Yeah. But then that means we're all weird together, guys. If you're still on this live, then we're weird together. So we should celebrate that. Where is your sugar daddy? Where is your sugar daddy, Veronia? It's called financial freedom. Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, it's really, really surprising that I do not have a sugar daddy. And I didn't need to earn 6 figures as well for me to be financially stable. So, you know, very, very interesting. I'm in 3rd year. I've used most part of my money to buy land in Africa. Wow, that's amazing. Building a mansion when I start working. Wow, it's my kids' inheritance. That is absolutely amazing. I think that's, yeah, I think, you know, to be actually starting to think about your finances and so at such a great time as well, I think it's just going to do wonders for you. So yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I think the only other thing that I wanted to talk about is sometimes I kind of see or get some comments where some people maybe say that, you know, I don't have time to focus on my finances or to, you know, actually learn about managing my money or even start making a budget. And I kind of wanted to address that as well, because I think it's also important. And so what I would say is that my question would be, is it because you don't have time, or you don't value making time with your finances as being important or as a priority? And so I kind of like, if you felt like, oh, I've like where you've said, oh, I don't have time to make a budget, or I don't have time to, like, you know, manage my money, like I'm too busy. Like, is that because you genuinely don't have time, or you just don't have time to work on your finances? And so the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because I think I see that quite a lot, where people kind of think like, oh my gosh, budgeting takes too long and things like that. Again, it's kind of some limiting beliefs that you might have, because even when it comes to things like budgeting, like it doesn't, like it's really based on how you decide to make your budget. But I don't like, again, like I will talk about that in my other weekly series, so make sure you guys join for that. But even when it comes to, you know, the reason why you don't have time, it could be because, like, I would question, is it because you don't value it? And so again, this is why I always come back to, you know, what do you actually value? Like, do you value financial security? Do you actually value being financially stable? If there was a time where, you know, let's say you lost your job, for example, could you confidently say that you could at least last for a few months where you can take your time to find another job, so that you know, you don't have to be so stressed trying to find out another job, because you have a financial foundation? If you decided, actually, I want to maybe take a sabbatical, like, or like me, like you wanted to just take some time off, do you value having that financial stability to allow you to do that? And so this is why I'm always stressing, it's not just about, you know, just the money, like saving money. It's not just about that. And I really hope, like, I've been able to kind of help you guys realize that. But it's really, what is that money going to do for you? What's your kind of like, what do you really value? What do you value in your life? Because what I've realized is, even when it came to things like the pandemic, or not even just the pandemic, but in general, you know, if people are at risk of losing their jobs, one of the main things they're going to be thinking about is their finances. And the big reason for that is because they're going to have, maybe they've got car payments that they need to make. Maybe they need to pay for their rent or their mortgage. Obviously, you've got utility bills. Obviously, you need food. And because a lot of those people are living paycheck to paycheck, they're thinking, how am I going to financially survive? Because I'm not going to be able to financially survive for at least a month. Maybe you have credit card payments or any of those stuff. And so what I would really kind of stress, or just even get you guys to just think about is, you know, what would it mean to you if you were to have enough savings and investments so that if anything happened, if your income changed, or even if you decided to take some time out, like you don't need to be as drastic as me as like quitting your job, but even if it's like, actually, I want to, you know, find another job, or maybe you actually want to drop and work part-time instead. Maybe you want to drop your hours. Maybe you want to be able to travel, for example. Maybe you want to just take a year out and maybe you want to travel. Um, like any of those things, really start to think about that, because that's what I mean by setting a financial foundation. It's not just for you to have savings, for example, but it's really to think about, what is that money actually going to do for you? Again, why are you budgeting your money? Why are you saving money? Why are you actually building why do you want to be financially secure? So yeah, that's why building a foundation is something that I'm really going to stress about, I think, this year. So I think I mean, are there any other questions? What do you think of no buy year? I'm seeing a lot of these kinds of videos during recommended during January. So the thing is, like, I think for me, I never tell people not to spend their money, because I think it's actually more about the intentions behind it. Like, I'm not one of those people that, like, I will tell you to just cut back everything and just don't buy everything. Because for me, it's like going on a diet. Like, if I tell myself that I'm going to completely cut down on everything and all I'm going to do is do a juice diet, I will binge at the end of like the week or the month that I've tried to do it. So I know those things don't work out for me. So for me, I try to focus on actually spending intentionally. And again, that's why, like, even like the women that I coach, I try not to get them to feel so guilty about spending. I try to get them to think, how can I spend intentionally so that I can enjoy my spending and it's not at the detriment of my savings and investments? That's what I really try to focus on, and that's what I try to encourage them to think about as well. And that shift has helped them so much, because they no longer feel so guilty about spending, and they're also still able, like, they're able to enjoy their spending. Like, one of my clients, like, Black Friday, she had money ready to spend on Black Friday, but she was able to do that because she was spending intentionally and she planned for it, but she'd already paid for her like savings and investments, so that money was there to be spent. So for me, I don't tend to do like no spend months and things like that. Because I personally, like, I like to spend money. Like, I'm secretly a spender. My husband is actually a saver and I'm the spender, which is funny because I'm the one with the YouTube channel. But I like to just spend intentionally, and I think that stops me from feeling so guilty as well. So, but some people will like prefer not to spend for a month or for a year, and that's definitely something that, if you feel like you really need to do, that you can do. But for me, I try to get, like, specifically the women that I work with, I try to get them to understand like their why, and once they understand their why, that's when they're more likely to spend more intentionally anyway, and so they don't really need to do like the no spend challenges. So yeah, it's really up to you. I'm seeing the same on my YouTube feed. Wow, no non-buy January. Really? I just bought a Christmas tree today, so I'm definitely not part of that club. So I just bought, like, I've it's a long story. If you follow me on Instagram at Veronia Spain, then you already know. But I bought a Christmas tree and a garland for next year's Christmas, because we didn't have we didn't have many like Christmas decor, because we like moved in halfway through the year. And so I decided that during this year's sales, I'm going to get myself a Christmas tree, and I did. So I spent money this year, and actually January is my birthday month as well. So my birthday's in the middle of January, so I'm definitely going to be spending money on my birthday. So yeah, that's kind of just my take on it. You talked earlier about having a financial foundation. Wanted to ask you, how did you build that financial foundation? Well, I'm not going to talk about that in this video, because I'm going to talk about that in my live in, I think, not next week, but I think the week after. So I'm going to talk about my story in terms of actually building that foundation. And throughout these weeks, like on Sunday, so it's going to be the same time, 7:30 p.m. GMT, I will talk about like actually setting that foundation. So what does that look like? So next week, I think the focus is going to be on budgeting, because I know you guys like have an interest in budgeting. So that's really where I'm going to help you, like, with the steps that I did. to build a solid foundation. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. So it's probably going to be an hour each week. So again, I have plenty of videos really talking through like how you can actually set your foundation. And again, I do also offer coaching as well. So I will link that as well if you want to find out more information about that. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it, guys. Yeah, a good way to save for Christmas. Yeah, exactly. That's how I save. Like sometimes you just gotta be creative and make it fun. So I was very excited about our tree, and it lights up automatically as well. I didn't even need to buy lights. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you all enjoy your evening as well. I really hope this live was useful as well. If it was, like, let me know on Instagram as well. If you've got specific questions that you want to ask me, you can DM me on Instagram and I will address it in next week's live. And I will do some lives as well on my Instagram as well that may be slightly different. So make sure you follow me on Instagram as well. Fabulous. Well, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you soon and have a great evening. Bye.